in the McAllisters' front yard was the first to show the blush of autumn, but inside their house a deep and unshakable winter had settled. 6 months since Mr. McAllister had passed, and the light still hadn't returned to Sarah McAllister's eyes. The lawn, once her husband's pride, was now a ragged blanket of overgrown grass and weary dandelions. From her kitchen window, young Mia Torres watched Sarah move slowly through her living room, a ghost in her own home. Mia's family had moved in just 3 months ago, and she'd learned about the McAllisters from the neighborhood kids. A knot of helplessness tightened in her stomach. "Mom, we have to do something," Mia said, pushing her cereal around her bowl. "Mrs. McAllister's yard is so sad." Her mother, Elena, followed her gaze. "I know, Mia, but grief is a heavy door. You can't just knock it down." That Sunday, the pastor's sermon was on Galatians 6:2. "Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ." The words landed on Mia's heart with the weight of a command. She elbowed her mother and pointed discreetly at the verse in the bulletin. Elena nodded, a thoughtful look in her eyes. The idea was Mia's, but the execution was a quiet conspiracy of the whole street. There was no grand meeting, just a few phone calls and texts. Mr. Henderson from 2 doors down, a retired mechanic, tuned up his lawnmower. The Miller twins, home from college, offered their strong backs. Elena, who worked at a garden center, secured bags of mulch and a vibrant, hopeful-looking chrysanthemum. They chose a Saturday morning. As the sun burned the dew off the grass, they gathered on the sidewalk in front of the McAllister house, a small army armed with rakes, clippers, and quiet determination. Sarah McAllister opened her front door, startled by the soft whir of the lawnmower. She saw Mia carefully edging the flower beds she and her husband had planted decades ago. She saw Mr. Henderson patiently raking a mountain of leaves, and Elena on her knees, planting the bright yellow moss by the porch step. Tears welled in her eyes, but for the first time, they weren't solely tears of sorrow. They were tears of overwhelming, unlooked-for love. She stepped onto the porch, her voice fragile. What is all this?" Elena stood, wiping her dirt-streaked hands on her jeans. "The burden looked a little heavy today, Sarah," she said softly, echoing the verse. "We just thought we'd help you carry it for a while." Sarah couldn't speak. She simply walked down the steps, picked up a spare rake, and began to help. She didn't say much, but the silence was no longer lonely. It was filled with the rhythmic scrape of rakes, the cheerful chatter of the Miller twins, and the shared purpose of a task being made light. When the work was done, the yard was transformed. It was neat, clean, and breathing again. But the greater transformation was inside Sarah. The heavy door of her grief had been gently opened, not broken down, by the kindness of her neighbors. Later, Mia found a small, worn Bible verse card on her doorstep. It read, "And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased." Hebrews 13:16. On the back, in a graceful script, Sarah had written, "You have all done good. Thank you for sharing your hearts with me." From that day on, the neighborhood was different. It was no longer just a collection of houses, but a tapestry of people who had learned that faith isn't just something you hold, but something you do. They had discovered the profound truth that in the act of helping another carry their burden, they often found their own load felt miraculously lighter.